Welcome to Arkansas's famous Crater of Diamonds State Park. The first diamonds were found here in 1906, just a little over 100 years ago. Since that time, people have wanted to know how they can find a diamond of their own here. Well, there are three basic methods, and in this program, How to Find Genuine Diamonds in Arkansas, I'm going to teach you how you can use each of those three methods. They are surface searching and scratching, dry sifting, and wet sifting. Now, I'm not just going to be sharing theories with you, but I'm going to speak from experience. I'm your host, Glenn Worthington, and I found my first 10 diamonds here in 1978, and I have found many more since then. So I have over a 30-year association with this diamond-bearing park. In addition to teaching you how to find a diamond of your own here, I want to share some of the history and show you some of the diamonds that have been found here. I think by doing that you'll attain a greater appreciation for this site. In a little bit, I'm going to take you over to the spot where John Huddleston found those first two diamonds on his farm. Shortly after he found those diamonds, he sold his farm to the Arkansas Diamond Corporation that set up a series of diamond recovery plants. The most impressive plant was in operation between 1919 and 1931. Now, we don't have production figures for all those years that they were in operation, but in 1923, they produced 1,300 carats of diamonds, and they produced that same amount the following year. Then in 1925, they produced about half that much, and in 1930, they recovered about 800 carats of diamonds. Now, we don't know where most of those diamonds are today because they were cut and put into jewelry and they lost their identity as being unique Arkansas diamonds. But we do know where 10 of the diamonds are that were mined here in 1931. Fortunately, they still remain uncut and are in their natural form, and you can see them at the Matilda and Carl Pfeiffer Museum in Piggott, Arkansas. Now, Piggott is in the far northeast corner of the state. The 6 larger diamonds in the collection are a 2.34 carat silver cape, a 2.45 carat brown, a 3.13 carat white, a gorgeous flawless 3.40 carat yellow, a very nearly flawless 3.85 carat white, and a 4.95 carat pale yellow. The Arkansas Diamond Corporation plant shut down after 1931 because there was a decline in diamond prices due to a lack of demand during the Great Depression. But there's a separate history to tell here because not all of the diamond-bearing property was on Huddleston's old farm. This northeast portion of the current Crater of Diamonds search territory belonged to Millard M. Mooney. Now let's go to his unique home nearby here, and then we'll come back to the crater. Before diamonds were ever discovered on Mr. Mooney's property, he had had the opportunity to buy the abandoned land simply by paying the back taxes that were owed on it. So he purchased that diamond-bearing field for a mere $1.24. Mr. Mooney lived in this unique home built in the 1830s by his 2 great uncles. He lived here with his wife, 4 daughters, and 2 sons. This is the oldest remaining structure in Pike County, Arkansas. When the news was proclaimed in late 1906 that genuine diamonds had been found in Arkansas, it sparked our nation's first and only diamond rush. Prospectors and fortune seekers flocked to the little old town of Murfreesboro from all over. But once they reached this remote site, they were disappointed because the Huddleston farm had been purchased by a company along with hundreds of acres around it, and they posted guards to keep people out. Now, Mr. Mooney came up with a unique solution to their problem. He opened up his diamond field for people to pay a small fee and to search for diamonds, and he even allowed them to keep what they found. It turned out to be a very popular idea. Crowds of people scoured the ground in search of gems. One of the early lucky searchers picked up a 13.25 carat diamond right off the surface of the Mooney mine. Now, before long, geologist Austin Q. Millar and his son Howard Millar made arrangements with the Mooneys to mine their portion of the field.
They built a diamond recovery plant within sight of the Mooney House beside Prairie Creek. Although there was plenty of water available there that was required for the recovery process, they were quite a ways from the diamond-bearing soil. So they constructed a small gauge railroad which included a trestle across Prairie Creek. Workmen shoveled kimberlite into ore carts by hand, and it was hauled to the Prairie Creek plant on the tram train. Diamond recovery began at the newly built plant in 1913. During their 5.5 years of operation, we can estimate that they recovered a total of 4,939 diamonds, weighing about 1,100 carats. Their best diamond was a perfect white crystal weighing 8.35 carats. Then, on the night of January 13, 1919, arsonists burned the Millars plant to the ground. It was never rebuilt. The Millar property sat idle for 32 years. Then, in 1951, some local businessmen opened it as a tourist attraction under the name of the Diamond Preserve of the United States. But unfortunately, it was only open one season because the men were not able to afford to continue paying the $1,000 a month rent on the diamond field. So the next year, in 1952, Howard Millar opened the tourist attraction himself under a new name, and he gave it the title, the Crater of Diamonds. It remained called that same name even after the state park bought it in 1972. Now, let's go drive over to the Crater of Diamonds State Park. We begin our tour of the Crater of Diamonds State Park today just outside the Visitor Center. Before we go in, I want to pause a minute and introduce you to this fantastic piece of old diamond recovery equipment. This was the heart of the Millars diamond recovery plant before it burned down in 1919. They used to haul ore in here and feed the dirt in here along with water, and a steam engine provided the power that turned these tines and stirred the mud constantly. Now, the light lamparite mud would float off the top over there, and the heavy rocks and diamonds would settle to the bottom. Then they would drain off that dense gravel every now and then, and they would take it over to a grease table to recover the diamonds. Now, the way a grease table works is they smeared about a 1/4-inch layer of grease across a sloped, vibrating table. Now, if you just take gravel and put it on a table with a coating of grease on it, all the rocks are going to stick to it. So what they do is they feed a stream of water down there, and they put wet rocks on that grease, and they all slide right off the end of the table. Nothing will drop down and stick in that grease because all the rocks are wet. Now, the unique characteristic of a diamond is that it's hydrophobic. In other words, it's non-wettable. You cannot make a diamond wet. It repels water. So the diamonds are in with all this other dense gravel going down the grease table, and it's the only non-wettable rock in the bunch. And so they stick in the grease, and the rest of the gravel washes right on over and goes out to the tailings. So at the end of the day, they scrape all the grease off. They put it in a pot of boiling water, the grease floats to the top, the diamonds sink to the bottom, and they can recover the diamonds easily then. When you come to the Crater of Diamonds State Park, you'll enter the Visitor Center door, and this is the first thing you'll see. You really must stop here and look. On display, they've got 210 genuine diamonds from Arkansas laid out here. None of these have been cut or polished. This is the way they came out of the ground. You want to look at this because this is what you're looking for. You hope to find something just like this. This display exhibits the whole wide range of shapes,
sizes, and colors that are found here at the Crater of Diamonds State Park. Now, when I say colors, some people have the misconception that all diamonds are white, because that's mainly what you see in a jewelry store, but 60% of the diamonds found here are white, or actually clear or colorless, but they call it white. 21% are brown, various shades of brown, all the way from a light tea color to a dark coffee color. And then 17% are yellow, and the most favored color here is the fancy canary yellow. And then the other 2% of the diamonds found here are like orange, green, pink, and black. The most famous diamond that has been found in the smallest category of other colors, only 2% are other colors, and that diamond was found by James Archer, a famous miner here who found more diamonds than anybody at this park. He found it back in April of 1999, and it weighed 1.45 carats, and it was a black diamond, registered as black. And my wife Cindy and I had the opportunity of buying that diamond for Mr. Archer shortly after he found it, and we had it set uncut in a ring with 2 other Crater diamonds as well. And she wore that diamond ring for many years, and more recently it became part of the Horan collection of famous notable Crater diamonds. Getting back to discussing these 210 diamonds that are on display here, back in 1997, 1998, there was a commercial attempt to mine the crater here. It was a sampling project called Phase 2. 3 mining companies agreed that at their expense, they would come in here and dig, haul, wash 9,600 tons of ore to determine how many diamonds per 100 tons there were, to determine the commercial viability of this laterite deposit. And it was totally at their expense, and the deal was that when they got done, the state park would get all the diamonds that they recovered so that they could display for visitors. And the only thing the mining companies got out of the millions of dollars that they spent was the knowledge of how many diamonds are actually here per ton. Then they also got the opportunity of bidding on commercially mining at the park. But after the test was completed, they determined that it was not commercially viable. It cost them more to dig, haul, and wash the ore than the diamonds were worth that they recovered. Now, you might be thinking at this point, why would I want to come and visit at a site where the big mining companies have determined they don't want to spend their time and money? Well, 2 reasons for that. You don't have all the overhead expense they do. You don't have to pay the geologist that tells the track hoe operator where to dig, and the uke drivers to haul the ore up to a plant miles away, and the crush wash operator at the multi-million-dollar diamond recovery plant, and the dense media separation operator, and then of course all the white collar workers that tell the blue collar workers what to do. So you don't have all those expenses. You can come out here with just a shovel and a bucket and a screen, or just walk across the surface and find diamonds. The other thing is that during the Phase 2 diamond recovery project, the mining companies agreed to intentionally dig off and set aside the first several feet of ore so that their results would not be skewed by the surface concentration of diamonds, and they dug the untouched ore body. During the months that these 210 diamonds were found, the tourists that came in here during that same time period found more diamonds in the mine than this multi-million-dollar diamond operation. Now, how do you explain that? Well, there's really 2 things that explain it. One, there's a surface concentration of diamonds out here. Geologists say that the search field used to be 150 feet higher, and then over the eons of erosion, silt has washed away, and the diamonds settled down and concentrated on the search field. So although it's not a place that the mining companies want to come and dig a 1,000-foot hole, fortunately, it is a great place to bring your family, because there are a lot of diamonds to be found. John Wesley Huddleston found the first 2 diamonds in Arkansas on his farm here. He sold the farm for $36,000. Back in 1906, that was a virtual fortune. He wanted his money in small bills, like 5s and 10s. So one of the first things he purchased with his money was a safe to put all that money in. And the safe can be seen here in the Crater of Diamonds Visitor Center Museum. It's pretty fascinating. You can look on here and see the patent is in 1906, and it's got drawers where he put his money in and all. And another fascinating thing, I kind of thought it was just local lore, but the story goes that John Huddleston either didn't learn the combination or couldn't learn the combination to the safe, but he told his wife and daughters to never mess with the dial. Well, somebody didn't follow his instructions too well and spun the dial. When John came to get some of his cash out of the safe, he couldn't get it open. So frustrated, he pulled out his 6-shooter and shot the dial off of the safe. Now, I always thought that might be legend or something, but the dial's missing from this old safe of his, so I guess old John did shoot it off. So when you come to the Crater of Diamonds, stop and take a look at this old safe. It's pretty fascinating. The natural instinct and tendency when you come to the Crater of Diamonds, you want to rush right out to the search field and look for diamonds. But really, I encourage you to pause first, look at the diamonds at the mannequin, look at Huddleston's safe, look at other diamonds that are on display here, and walk around the museum and take in the exhibits. It'll only take a few minutes, and it'll help you get oriented to the Crater of Diamonds and what can be found here. And they've got a good museum that too many people just pass on by because they're anxious to get out there and find their gem. But after you look around the museum, there's also a video presentation in the little theater. It'd be nice to take a few minutes, sit down with your family and watch that too before you go out and start your search. It'll just enhance your visit here. The diamonds will be waiting for you. They're not going to run out. In fact, a geologist for the state of Arkansas that's worked there over 30 years, J. Michael Howard, he did an estimate on the ore that is out here, figuring how many tons is there, how many diamonds per ton, so how many diamonds are in the reserve here. And he also calculated how many diamonds are found by tourists each year, and he figured everything out. And there is over 500 years worth of diamonds yet to be found out there in the field. So they'll be waiting for you. Don't get in too big a hurry to get out there and search. Now let's get started showing you how you can find diamonds of your own here. The most common method used is surface searching and scratching. It is so simple that even children can do it, and they've had a lot of good success with it too. But basically you just walk along, look at the dirt, most of it is dull, and then if you see something shiny, you just stop, pick it up, put it in a bag, and collect more. Keep collecting any shiny rocks that you see, and later in the day, take it to the Diamond Discovery Center and they'll identify your finds. Chances are you'll find some quartz or barite or other things that shine, but really the diamonds have a natural luster that'll just really flare up at you. You'll know a diamond when you see it. Now, the only tools you'll need for surface searching, if it's a sunny day, maybe a wide-brimmed hat and some sunscreen, but other than that, a little bag to carry your finds in is all you'll need. Now, some surface searchers also do some scratching. As they're walking along, they might take a garden rake or a hoe and just scratch the ground, see if a diamond rolls out. It works. People have found diamonds that way. In March of 2006, a mother and her son came out here, and she was diligently looking for diamonds, but the boy, he was just playing around over here by the mine shaft building. He picked up a rock and threw it and hit a dirt clod, and that dirt clod broke open, and a 2.12 carat diamond came out of there. 1 year after that, it was March of 2007, a pair of 8-year-old twins were out here looking around and just picking up rocks all day and putting them in a bag. And when they got back to the Diamond Discovery Center, they dumped their bag of finds out on the counter to be checked, and the park employee noticed one right off the bat. It was a genuine diamond that the kids had picked up somewhere, sometime during the day, and it weighed 2.5 carats. It was a naturally triangular shaped brown diamond, and the parents and kids were very surprised and pleased that just picking up shiny rocks that day, the kids had found a really good sized diamond out here. Before this was a state park, this portion of the search field was owned by Howard Millar, and it was open to the public for searching. Well, the winter of 1955 and 1956 was a particularly dry season, and to get ready for the tourist season in early March of 1956, Howard Millar hired 2 road graders to come in here, and he ordered them, the first one to go through and tip his blade as steeply as possible and plow deep furrows in the search field and pile the dirt up as high as it could. Then the other road grader followed behind him and gouged the ground even deeper and piled the rows up even higher as he went along. When they got done, then about midnight that night, a heavy rain started pouring, and the dirt, the furrows were eroded down more than a foot. So a lot of soil had moved, a lot of freshly turned soil had been washed. Well, at 10:30 the next morning, March 4th, 1956, Mrs. A.L. Parker of Dallas, Texas, was walking right along here, and she looked down, and 6 inches from a man's footprint, she saw something shiny sparkling up at her. And she picked up a 15 1/3 carat diamond that was later named the Star of Arkansas. It was cut down to an 8 1/4 carat marquee cut diamond, and it was sold in 1994 at Christie's in New York for $145,000. Although the Star of Arkansas weighed over 15 carats before it was cut, it's still only a small sliver off of a much larger diamond. It's hard to extrapolate how large the full round crystal was, but to me, it looks like it could have weighed 200 carats. When the news broke that Mrs. A.L. Parker found a 15 1/3 carat diamond while surface searching, tourism greatly increased. Since his business was doing so well, it wasn't long before Mr. and Mrs. Roscoe Johnson contracted to open up John Huddleston's old farm over here on the other side of the fence, opened it up to tourism. Mrs. Jewel Jernigan of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, made a few trips here in 1963, but she didn't find any diamonds on those trips. But then on the morning of September 22nd, 1963, she brought her son and daughter out here, and while they were surface searching, she came up and right about here found a 4.51 clear white diamond. Now it too had sheared off of a much larger diamond. It's sort of shaped like a contact lens. It might have sheared off the same diamond as the Star of Arkansas. If so, there's still about 180 carats of diamonds unaccounted for. And I expect that's still out here to be found somewhere. Also in 1963, the first year the Johnstons had their big mine open to the public, a family from Pine Bluff, Arkansas came, and they spread out a blanket and put their 14-month-old daughter on it, Mary Rogers, and then the parents went off and were searching for diamonds. A little later they came back to check on their baby to see how she was doing, and the girl had something in her mouth. So they got the baby to spit it out, and they found she had been sucking on an 11.92 carat brown diamond. On August 25th, 1975, Mr. W.W. Johnson of Amarillo, Texas, came to the Crater of Diamonds to surface search. He had looked around for a couple of hours and hadn't found anything. Then when he came near this spot, he saw something shiny on the ground, but he thought it was just a piece of glass, so he walked on by. Well, there had been a heavy downpour the night before, and the search territory was pretty muddy, so he decided to not go any farther. He turned around and retraced his footsteps, and from about 20 or 30 feet away, he saw that sparkling spot in the ground again. So he decided this time to investigate, and it turned out to be just the tip of the iceberg was showing. About 95% of the diamond was still under the dirt. He reached in with his fingers and worked and popped out a diamond that was about 1 inch long and 1/2 inch wide. By now he realized it wasn't a piece of glass, but he just figured it was an average size diamond.
So he took it to the visitor center to have it weighed, and then Park Superintendent Jim Cannon saw this gem and realized it was not only a diamond, but it was a very large diamond. He weighed it on the scales, and it tipped the scales at 16.37 carats. It still holds the record of being the largest diamond found at the state park since it became a state park in 1972. When you go diamond hunting, think small. A lot of people go out there expecting to trip over a golf ball sized diamond. Well, realistically, think of the size of diamond in your wife's wedding ring. Diamonds just aren't that large. The average size diamond found at the Crater of Diamonds is 19 points. Now, there's 100 decimal points of weight per carat, so a 19-point diamond is just a little under a fifth of a carat. Well, with all the big diamonds that are found, like 4.5 carats, 5.5 carats, on up to 16 1/3 carats, a lot of diamonds below 19 points are found for it to average out at 19 points. Now, unlike fishing, when you go diamond mining, you don't throw the little ones back. When you visit the Crater of Diamonds State Park, you can't help but notice this display of old mining equipment. It sits here as a testament to the fact that a serious effort was put forth to recover diamonds from this site. Between 1919 and 1931, the Arkansas Diamond Corporation had a very state-of-the-art plant erected at the south end of what is now the Crater of Diamonds search field. And you might be wondering, well, what did all this equipment and effort produce? Thousands of carats of diamonds. Some of the larger ones I'd like to mention, like the one found in 1921. It was a 20 1/4 carat diamond. They later cleaved it in two and cut two lovely gems out of it. But 3 years after that, in 1924, a workman named Wesley Ole Basham found the largest diamond that's ever been found in the United States, the 40 1/4 carat Uncle Sam diamond. Now, the reason it was named Uncle Sam is not so much out of patriotism like you might expect, but Mr. Basham's nickname was Uncle Sam. And since he found it, people referred to that 40 1/4 carat diamond as Uncle Sam's diamond, and the name stuck. Lifelong Murfreesboro resident Alton Terrell told me the story of how the Uncle Sam diamond was found. Workmen were shoveling ore, mud, and water into a rotary trommel like this one, except that trommel had smaller holes in it. They were 3/4 inch size holes in that trommel. The way this works is this is a rotating drum, and as ore is fed into it, the smaller material falls through the holes into the African-style rotary wash pan. The larger rocks roll on out the end and go into a tailings pile of discarded material. Well, Uncle Sam Basham noticed something shiny stuck in one of the holes. He went and told his boss, Lee Wagner, and Mr. Wagner shut down the trommel immediately, and they dislodged the shiny diamond from the hole it was stuck in. Now, if it hadn't gotten caught just like that and had rolled on out with the larger rocks, it may never have been found.